And we're just getting started.
That's
Okay, so let's look at what other questions we might have. If we're documenting this and I'm trying to provide this to a client, or I'm in an organization and my boss wants to understand, or someone who's going to take over the file needs to understand how things are done, documentation is key. It's not something that gets a lot of attention. Bill and I talk about this quite a bit, but it's absolutely important that it gets done. Bill, what's your take on documentation?
well, we have to be better, and it's critical for anyone who comes behind or works with a file. The other point I want to make that, as we're stepping through these steps, the beauty of ChatGPT is how you are iterating from previous steps. You're building on previous results and you're just expanding through your challenge. Um, that's crazy.
And we're going to try a couple more in this session and see how that works. So first thing we're going to do is just have it summarize for us exactly what this thing does. So I'm going to copy that step. I'm going to come over to ChatGPT. Now I'm going to need my entire macro code here. So I'm just going to paste in the prompt, and then I'm going to go back and grab the entire code. So I've pasted in the entire code and I say, please summarize in 3 sentences what this query does. Let's give it a go. That's it. It's a date table. Okay. So that's great. But why do I need a date table? Okay, so as part of my documentation, I have this model and I've developed this date table. Why do I want a date table? Someone comes behind me, and Bill and I like to talk about hashtag eliminate the friction. Help somebody that's coming behind you or somebody
Mhm.
that's got to pick up your work, etc. So I'm just going to put in here, this is a date table created in Power Query. Why is a date table important in data modeling? Okay, we may or may not know. So now we've shifted from changing the M code to now we're doing some research, and we're using ChatGPT right here to do research. That's another helpful capability. So let's see what it says.
Now imagine trying to write that.
Thank you, Bill. And we would tweak this a little bit, but this is literally why you should use a date table. The part about time intelligence functions, they call it time-based calculations. It's imperative that you have a date table, and that gets into DAX, etc.
And what's you just said, we'll tweak it a little bit. What's important is that you're now bringing the knowledge of what you expect and what you want to refine the result that was given, because often it won't be exactly right.
Right. Bill might describe some of these little things that it put in there a little differently. But the point is, the gist of it is there. Now, Bill, we're going to try one more thing in this session. And what I want to do is I want this to explain the steps. Give me a list of steps of what this does, not the code. Just give me a list of steps so I can give it to somebody. They don't need to get cluttered with looking at the code and interpreting it. So I'm going to come back here and say, please summarize the list of steps that the following code performs. I'm going to come over here. Now, because I put the query here, I shouldn't need to paste in the query again. So I'm going to change this and just say, please summarize in a list of steps, in a list, the steps that the M code performs. It should know. And I'm going to say just for, and let's see what it does. And you can see it's going through right from the beginning, getting the information from F transactions. So there's 8 steps. And I have fixed my code for a step that I wanted to correct. I have generated a summary of that entire code query to what it does, and I have a list of steps. In our next video, we're going to talk about how can I comment the code to make it so when I'm in the query, I can see what's happening.